Now back to Sin City and My Guys in the Desert with the legend Brent Musburger, live on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, SiriusXM Channel 204, and VSIN.com.
Well, it is a great pleasure to welcome in Ryan Howard. And, of course, certainly those of you in the Philadelphia area remember this great slugging first baseman. I've already talked about the 382 home runs. What I had forgotten is that Ryan, after being Rookie of the Year when he broke in, was the MVP 2 years later. There aren't many guys who can claim that. Ryan, welcome to Las Vegas and VSIN, my friend.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. Absolute honor. Appreciate it, guys.
Now,
wait,
did you have a good record against Josh over here? Did you?
I think we had some good battles going, and especially in spring training, because like you said, our spring training sites were right down the street from each other, so we'd see each other like every other day.
You were in Clearwater, right?
We were in Clearwater, right?
Oh
right.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
The Phillies own Clearwater.
right. Did you win MVP the second year? You won Rookie of the Year, then MVP.
And then
Yeah.
MVP.
Yeah. you went
Rookie of the
back-to-back
Year 05, MVP 06.
And I think Chris Bryant did it. There's not too many people in history of the game that have done that.
Four. So I think Cal was first, then me, then Pedroia, and then I think Chris Bryant was the last.
How about that? There's okay for you folks listening, headed to the saloon. There's your trivia contest. Okay. A Rookie of the Year, 2 years later, MVP. My man, 382 home runs. You wanted to get to that 400, I know.
Oh, I would have loved it.
Oh, yeah, we would have loved seeing it. Left-handed slugger, Vinny.
Oh, my. You know, I sit here and I'm looking at both of these guys, Brent, and you know, you call the games you watch, and I think about how many times on these big screens behind me I watch them go at it head-to-head each other, and the reaction by the fans behind us. Outstanding. Good to have you guys together in studio.
There's so many cool things that we've done in our careers. And this is one of them, like after the fact, like getting to see Ryan again. Last time I saw you, by the way, was at Holiday Services.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, it's on the baseball field. And it's exciting because you're on the mound, and here comes Ryan Howard. And, of course, you know who he is. I mean, he's an MVP guy every year. He's one of the best in the game. And now you get this challenge of facing somebody like this. And then what do I do the second at bat? And what do I do the third at bat? And then what do I do in 5 days when I got to face him 3 times again?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you face him 100 times in your career, and it's so exciting. And then now you get to see him again on stage, and we're talking about it. And it's just it's such an honor, man. I mean, you guys were studs. How about this? Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, Jim Thome, Bobby Abreu. I mean, how do you face that lineup? Crazy.
Very cautiously, I would imagine.
Take the night off. Come on. What are you thinking about?
Coach, I'm under the weather.
Hey, Ryan, with the tell me about, had the change in hitting style come in near the end of your career when the launch angle has become such a big thing? Were you involved at all in that change over to the way youngsters hit now?
So my last year was 16 in the big leagues, and you could kind of see the progression starting to move that way, where people were starting to talk more about launch angle. I actually have a 17-year-old son who, when I took him to his lessons, that's all they started to talk about was launch angle. You got to get under the ball. You got to lift the ball. And the entire change, to me, I would have these conversations with Jimmy and Chase and guys like that, and we would just always kind of say, you know, I think it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of everything, where the old school guys talk about the chopping wood. Your hands have got to come down, right? And Josh, you know, like your hands start up for the most part. So when you go to take a swing, your hands automatically come down. It's all about where you get the bat into the zone and how early you get the bat into the zone. And then thus, the natural physics of everything, your follow-through is going to come up. So it's just, to me, it's really all about where you catch the ball, as opposed to so much of the emphasis of trying to get under the ball to lift the ball.
Okay. How about the defenses? Were they starting to shift as much as they do now?
A little bit. I mean, obviously the natural left on the lefty shifts, right, where that kind of stuff started with Barry, and then obviously it trickled down to me. Thanks, Barry. And but where you could really start to see the change was when they started shifting right-handed hitters. And I just remember one time seeing the shift where, the Angels were playing the Astros, and Pujols is hitting, and Altuve's playing about 10 feet in the outfield and center field on the shortstop side of second base, and Albert hits a ball, which is supposed to be a base hit, smack dab at Altuve, and Altuve throws him out. So, seeing the overall just growth of the shift to that magnitude has been very eye-opening, because me going through it personally, it's like, okay, I get it from the left-handed standpoint, but now when you see the drastic shifts on right-handed batters, yeah, that's when it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
I watched Yelich in an at-bat today even. I don't know if he had 2 strikes or not, but he went to left field. He dropped down, slowed the swing, and got it into left field on the ground for a base hit. I know it's, we all say that as commentators. Oh, why don't they go the other way? Easier said than done, as when you're at bat against those guys, bringing it about 93, 94 miles an hour.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would hear it all the time. Why didn't you just bunt? Why didn't you just, take? First off, I'm not trying to foul something off and hit me in the face when I'm trying to bunt, because that's not necessarily part of my game. But at times it is. It's a lot harder. It's a lot easier said than done trying to hit the ball to left field. I mean, Josh knows. I mean, those guys are taking they're adding velocity. They're taking velocity away. It's tough, man.
Would you change the rules? There are some people, radical, who would say, okay, we should have the shortstop. If you look at it as a hitter, they should be on the left side of second. The second baseman and the first baseman should be on the right side.
Right.
Do you think it should be considered, or you've got to adjust? I mean, what's your feeling about that? And that would be a drastic change, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, luckily I'm not the rules guy, but I think that if the ball, since you're not playing a prototypical second base, or you're not playing a prototypical shortstop, right? Second baseman's playing pretty much shallow right field. To me, I've always said, well, if the ball leaves the infield, if it leaves the dirt and goes into the outfield grass, and the second baseman is making a play, it's not a routine play. The throw is not a routine throw. So to me, and this is because I would always lose hits, but to me, I always felt that if that guy made a mistake, it's almost kind of like asking the right fielder to try to throw you out at first base. So if the ball leaves the infield and that guy messes it up, I think it should be a base hit.
Right. We've heard
as
Josh,
a pitcher, would you like to counter that,
Josh? He's wrong. Obviously, he's wrong.
I'll give you equal time, my man.
Listen, I don't believe in this shift anyways. I think it's bad for the game. I don't like it. But to set rules saying that, like, if you're at second base, you have to stay on this side of the field, or shortstop or third base, vice versa. You got to stay in your area. That's not the reality. You can't tell me where I can play. I can play any defense I want. I don't like it. Fans don't like it. That's the one thing that hitters are going to have to do. I mean, we got a 5-2 game. Trevor Story just hit a home run in the 9th. 5-2 game. This is basically a playoff game for the Dodgers and Rockies. There's no outs, and Carr goes up. They just had this shift on Cargo. He didn't lay it down or even try to go to the left side. He rolled over a ball to first base. If there ever was a situation where you're going to try to lay one down, I think this is it, with 3 runs in the 9th inning versus the Dodgers. So until hitters are willing to do that, it's not going to change. And that's why I wanted to ask you, Rye. It's obviously we talk about it more now, more than ever before. But Carpenter and a lot of these guys say, well, why would I give up the opportunity to hit a double and a home run, which you're very good at doing, for a single when it takes about 3 singles to score a run? With that said, what is your goal when you come up to the plate?
My goal for what I'm supposed to do is I'm a run producer.
Okay.
So my job is to go out there and try to produce runs. Now, it's a little bit different with a guy like Cargo or a guy like Carp, where for those guys, those guys going up there laying down a bunt or trying to get that single or whatnot, like, those are guys who can get on first, and they have the potential of stealing second and getting in the scoring position. I had the red light. I couldn't even get a flash in yellow, like, the school sign, put the steal sign on and take it off. I couldn't even get that. But so that's where, for me, it was a little bit different, to where I could change the flow of the game with one swing of the bat. So it's a little bit tougher trying to lay down a bunt and being in that situation, to where, yeah, I mean, the guys that were hitting behind me, I had Pat Burrell, Jason Worth that could come up and also make a big difference. So for me at that time, it's like, hey, if I get on first base, bunting it wasn't a part of my game.
Right.
But if I can put one over the fence, if it was a single, or I can put a double, and then Worth or Burrell or whoever else was coming up and knock me in, then that would be the key.
Right. I've heard Josh, and he's talked a lot about how the bullpens are starting games now for teams. What would your approach as a hitter be for that, and what are your thoughts on these bullpen starts?
It's almost like a spring training mindset, because that's what you see in spring training. You see early on in spring training, you'll see the starter for 1-2 innings max early on, and then the rest of the game, it's the bullpen, it's the guys that are going to be sent down and going to AAA. Like, that's what you're getting into. So when you get into a situation where these guys are throwing bullpen games, as a hitter, it's somewhat tough to really get into a rhythm, because you're facing that pitcher, that starter early on, and you know that you're going to get at least 2 to 3 at-bats off that guy, unless, you're just absolutely crushing him and they take him out early. So when you're in the bullpen, you don't know if this person's going to last 2 innings, or they're going to bring in this other lefty or bring this righty in. You're kind of, up in limbo trying to figure out what's going to happen.
And we talk about this. Sorry, Brent. Obviously, we talk sports. We talk sports betting. That's why I said a lot, and I'm glad you said it, Ryan, about a lot of unders when it comes to bullpen days for pitchers, because he's going to have to, if he has 4 at-bats, he's getting 4 different pitchers. So how can he go back to the video room or wherever else he's going to do and figure out what he wants to do? How can he make an adjustment if he's going to get a whole different guy? And now he's got to go to the hitting coach and be like, yo, what does he got? All right, so, okay, well, what does he do with 2 strikes? Are you going to go straight to a splitty? Okay, cool. Where if it's me, he knows I'm going to get him 3 or 4 times. He knows my tendencies a lot more. So he, as much as I'm trying to set him up, he can set me up. But bullpen days, he doesn't. It's now this guy's coming in with his best stuff because he's getting you guys 1 time, because they don't want relievers to see hitters twice. And so that's why from our side now, the sports gambling, I like unders a lot on bullpen days, because it's hard for these guys to face 4 different pitchers in one game.
Because I'm able to make my adjustments off you between at bat number 1, or from bat number 1 to at bat number 2 and 3, before either they come and pull you or whatever happens down the line.
Yeah. Ryan, you grew up in Missouri.
Yes,
around
sir.
Around St. Louis. Cardinal fan? Because
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up, yeah.
And a hero on the Cardinals would have been, when you were a young man, who
Man, that was Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee,
the
Vince
Wizard.
Coleman, Tommy Herr out there, TP, Terry Pendleton, like all those. I grew up with all those guys.
Oh, absolutely. Now, when did you start playing baseball, and did you specialize, or did you play also basketball and football when you were growing
So I started playing baseball when I was really, really young, probably about 2nd grade or so. And then, but growing up, played multiple sports. So I played soccer, basketball, baseball, football a couple of years in high school.
What would be your recommendation? What have you done with your son? You mentioned that he's taking some batting practice, so he's obviously a baseball player.
Yeah, he only wanted to play baseball.
Okay.
So he just plays baseball. Yeah.
So he's special, and we have more specialists today. But the point that I'm trying to make, I like the athlete who plays at a young age a lot of different sports. I think it's healthy.
I agree with you.
Josh, did you play a lot different sports, or did you specialize?
Early when I did, I played soccer, I played some basketball, like elementary school, but I was so addicted to baseball that I didn't want to do anything else. Like, we lived on a beach, my dad made surfboards, and people would get mad at me because we had a surf shop and I get all that stuff for free. And I was like, dude, I'd rather go play baseball.
So you were a beach bum.
Yeah, growing up.
Right, Josh.
And I would rather.
I'm learning more every day, man.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, my man, Josh.
So I'd rather play wiffle ball in the front yard or something like that. I'd rather. But I like athletes. I mean, look at Pat Mahomes tonight. I like these athletes. I like these kids that do it all. I think that it adds a lot. But when you're addicted to something, I mean, what are you going to do? And that's all I wanted to do.
You had to square off against Mahomes' father.
I think he might have been a little bit ahead of me. I don't think. Yeah, I did face LaTroy.
Did you?
I did face LaTroy, and LaTroy was the inventor of the quick pitch out there. So I mean, you had to be ready because you knew it was coming at some point. So thanks for the quick pitch out there, LaTroy.
Now, before we let you leave, obviously we know we're going to ask you who you like in the playoffs. The Dodgers have just advanced 5-2 over Colorado, and Ron Flatter will have the update on that. But as you take a look at the National League. Let's start there because former Philly, great Philly. What's your feeling about the National League playoffs still ahead?
Oh man, again, I think it's hard to really root against the Dodgers. They're in the World Series last year, but the dark horse, man, is you got to keep an eye out on Milwaukee.
I totally
You've
agree.
got to keep an eye out on Milwaukee. I've always said it to people. Sometimes, winning the division is great, early in September.
Mm-hmm.
But I've said it, man. September is playoff baseball. People don't realize that because every single game that you're getting into is a playoff game, especially for that wild card team. They are the dangerous team, and the Brewers were supposed to be the wild card team who just won today. But that's a team you got to watch out for.
Okay, over the American League.
I think Houston gets back in the American League. I think it's going to be.
You need a mattress in your.
I think they do. I mean, is Chris Sale going to come back and be Chris Sale? Is David Price he's got to get off the snide. I don't think he has a victory in the postseason, so he's due. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's tough, man. You got Cole, you got Verlander, you got Keuchel, and then if Charlie Morton does what Charlie Morton did last year. It's tough because those lineups, Houston's lineup can go toe-to-toe with anybody.
Where's home? Where are you living with the family?
Between Atlanta and Florida.
Okay, so you're between. Now, my smart-ass comment about Mattress Mac in Houston, if you call up Gallery Furniture and you order 3,000 or more, mattresses for the kids, and they win because you like them, he gives it to you free. Now, Mattress Mac will be here to lay it off, okay, at a South Point.
That's true.
So I just wanted to give you a little insight of it because I'm trying to talk my wife and let me ship it up at the place in Montana. I said, come on, Houston could win this thing, and now I can call her tonight. Hey, Ryan Howard, man, this dude hit 382 home runs. This was an MVP, Arlene. Come on, he likes Houston. Let me get that new mattress and ship it up there.
Oh, boy.
Mattress Mac, we love him.
Oh,
Ryan, we want to thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
For dropping by. And how old did you say your son was now?
He's 17, so he's a senior in high school.
And first name is?
Darian Howard.
Darian Howard, folks. Keep an eye on that. He's got a fantasy future, I dare say, if he takes after Pops. Ryan Howard, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll be right back on VSIN.com, Sirius XM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at VSIN.com.